Hi, it's Gary, and in today's concept video about what luthiers do, I'm probably going to talk about something that you didn't consider. And when I distill what I do in the workshop every day, I can think about it in terms of two main activities that overlap in practical terms, but conceptually they're very different. So the first activity is cutting and shaping the wood so that in the end it will end up looking and feeling like a guitar. And the second activity is really the most challenging, and that is to assess the material properties of wood and on a more microscopic level change the structure so that I can shape the sound. And this can be a lifelong pursuit. But the reason for this second activity is because wood is a natural product, and being a natural product, it is inherently highly variable in properties such as stiffness and weight. And the bad news for guitar builders is that stiffness and weight highly influence the sound, the acoustic properties of any resonating instrument. And so that decision making really feeds into how the instrument will ultimately sound. And even if the material that I received is exactly the same and is uniform from guitar to guitar, I still need to make decisions on how to change the structure so that ultimately the guitar will sound the way that I want it to, or maybe even on a better level, exactly the way that a player wants to have it sound. And so in future videos, we'll spend more time discussing how I actually do that. At my workbench, I have two equally important books. The first book addresses the first activity of luthiers, that is, how to make something that looks and feels like a guitar. This has all the dimensions and all the methodology that I use to put together a guitar. The second book is more of a notebook, a record-keeping book that has my assessment of things like flexibility and weight, but more importantly, what I think about those aspects, how I make decisions and what decisions I made, but also subjective evaluations of the sound of finished guitars so that I can draw correlations between the physical measurements during the building process and the eventual sound. If I had to have one book, it would probably be this one that has the key to understanding why my guitars sound that way that they do. No doubt the builder of your guitar used some variation of these two aspects of the building process. For example, he or she may have used more or less power tools. However, in the end, a guitar looks like a guitar. It feels more or less like a guitar. But the decision-making process that led to the sound might be radically different. The sensibility of the measurements, either by hand or by instrumentation, may be different. What some people might consider scientific building is really no different than recording the information so that it can be referred to later, and then you can make decisions based on these recordings. However, a more intuitive builder or a more traditional builder might store this in his or her memory banks, which is perfectly valid. So there's room for a lot of variety in styles of building, methodology, and thought. One is not necessarily better, they're just different, and that's what gives a variety that is really beautiful in classical guitar building and playing.